night in a snow cave, and finally a rescue.
I'm exhausted. I'm just very happy that everybody came and got us.
We'll hear more from the snowmobilers brought to safety today. Good afternoon, I'm Nini Jung. This is King 5 News at Noon.
Number 1 at noon. King 5 News starts now.
I didn't want them called unless it really came down to life and death, and that's what it came down to.
Cold and scared, now safe and relieved. Two snowmobilers say they're happy to be home after spending 2 long nights stranded in the mountains. The couple became stuck Sunday night and were pulled to safety this morning. It was supposed to be a day trip into the popular Pyramid Creek Snow Park at Blowout Mountain. That's near Greenwater. King 5's Jake Wittenberg has their survival story.
As rescuers returned to the base of the mountain this morning, they returned Glenn Markovitz and his girlfriend Renee Bennett too. Now, with a story to tell.
How you feeling? Cold. Well, I feel a lot better now. But it was a long night and a half, or however long we were up there. I lost track of time.
It's calm here, but Markovitz says it's blizzard-like conditions near the top. That's what forced the couple to hunker down, with nowhere to turn and heavy snow covering their tracks.
But this was the first time that I rode with Renee without anybody else there. To keep pushing her just wasn't going to happen.
I'm exhausted. I'm just very happy that everybody came and got us, and I'm very grateful for them.
Markovitz says he found cell service and sent a text message to his daughter for help. He and Bennett had extra warm clothes, food, and water, so they built shelter in the snow to wait for rescuers.
It was an igloo with a lot of branches that we laid on. We created a bed in there. We had a fire going. It was hard to maintain. We did everything right, except for, I guess, being up there in the first place. So I knew they were coming, but I really got worried last night when I just didn't see anybody.
It was a treacherous night for rescuers, too. Several crews had to turn back, and only these snowcats could safely navigate the rugged terrain. Kurt Stanhope typically rides with Markovitz, but last night he used his GPS to help find his friend.
His radio was talking to my radio. That allowed us to pinpoint his position.
You know, you just learn by experience and circumstances, and I always say what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, and hopefully I'm stronger.
Stronger now.
You know, 'cause I'm not dead.
Their snowmobiles were left on the mountain, but Markovitz says he'll return to get them. He'll find a way. In Greenwater, Jake Wittenberg, King 5 News.
As with all search and rescue operations in King County, the couple will not be charged for their rescue.
Last Tuesday, search and rescue came and got us out of here, and we're just over a ridge on the 1913 road going towards Twin Camps. And after search and rescue reached us, we couldn't get these sleds up over this ridge, so we had to leave these 2 snowmobiles here. And some great friends came along today to help me retrieve these snowmobiles, and fortunately they're still here. We're going to go down and we're going to look at a snow cave that I made the other night and fill it in, or fill a crater in that I made in the middle of the road for the fire. So, with any luck, we'll get these all out of here and we'll have a good ride. It looks like it is. So we came in from Easton, right up there on that hill. Yeah. By the time we got here, you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. I knew that slope was there. There's no way I could navigate it without visibility. I mean, It was just windy, snowy, and there were no tracks. So I considered going out through Twin Camps. I knew it was going to be blizzard, but I wanted to check it out anyways. I realized that was bad, this was bad, so we camped right in between. So I could go either direction to make phone calls. When we left here, my girlfriend and one of the search and rescue guys walked all the way to where you guys are. And then I had to ride both sleds across the face of that, one at a time, all the way to that far corner where it starts to get drifted, and walk all the way back to get the other one and ride it across, because they weren't going to. Then we got around that corner where it's relatively flat. Those two guys rode one sled, and I and my girlfriend rode the other sled to the base of the tree, with the trail with the trees. So that's how we got the sleds from here to there. And by the way, that whole process from the time they found us there to the time we got up to Snowcat took about 6 hours. Holy shit.
Okay, here we are approaching the house that Glenn built.
Got a deer in there with him. Yeah. Ready to attack you to defend it.
There's Glenn.
Well, this is the snow cave that I built, and a fire pit, and we're a couple miles east of the burnout up here on the ridge by Twin Camps. And this was a valley that I thought was pretty safe. It wasn't too windy, but the wind would howl through here. We had plenty of tree branches. Most of the branches I trimmed were off of that tree where that dead one is, and that's where I got firewood from. This is a trail that I used. Trimmed all the branches. They're all hanging down low. Got off of everything we could here. There was another dead snag I still could have cut down. I cut down a dead snag there. I know it's kind of funny, but this log is going across there. They used to have a 2-foot drop underneath of it, and it was a woman's restroom. It was, you know, she had to sit down, and that was the easiest and best way to do it. But
that's convenient.
so we put the branches in here. I cut it in from about here back the first night. Kind of wanted to cut it down and up so that wind wouldn't pull up in there. Then the next morning I added some of this foliage across the top and covered it with snow. Then dug this out, put the fire pit down there, put a log across so we can hang our socks and gloves to dry over the fire. And then I put tree branches over the top of that so when it did snow, they just didn't get as wet when they were getting dry. So this is a hole that we should probably fill in. I figure if somebody come busting down this trail, his nose into this thing, would not be a good day. See, there's a ridge we just went across. I had visibility from here. I could see if, you know, anybody was coming through with headlights. And Bill was saying, flash your headlights to see if we can see you. And I said, you wouldn't be able to see me unless you were within 200 feet of me because I'm below a crest in the road. So I'd have to go out to the ridge, which we'll go out to. I had to go out to the ridge, and that's where I made communication and flashed my lights and went over to the burnout and contemplated getting out that way. But never got radio communication over there. You know, and they said they were within 7/10 of a mile at some point. I just can't logically see that without me getting radio contact with them. So they came in this way, and we went out this way. But we had all the necessary survival stuff. We didn't have beer. We had protein bars, granola bars, trail mix. We had plenty of water. We rationed it. Water, Gatorade. We had a couple Snicker bars. I had a first aid kit because Renee hurt her elbow when she crashed her sled earlier. We had multiple ways of starting a fire. I had a Leatherman, I had 3 saws, 2 metal shovels. We started the fire on a metal shovel inside the snow cave, then brought it out here and added some gas and got it going out here. I had string, I had rope, I had nylon tape, I had duct tape. We had a thin vapor barrier blanket that we could lay on top of the branches we put inside the snow cave to try to isolate a little bit of that cold and dampness from our bodies. We just waited. And they got to us. But you guys can go and take a look at that. I know it's kind of.
Do you want to give us a little tour on the inside?
What's that?
Can I follow you in? And
There's probably not enough room now.
No.
It's like these are all pushing down in there.
Okay.
You can go all the way in there.
So, going down the deal, here's the fire pit that they had, still got some wood in it. And there's the branches and you talked about where they hung their socks and stuff from. Okay. And then here's the shelter in here. You see they got it all lined with branches and stuff, and it's pretty roomy. That goes back another 4 or 5 feet from where I'm at, and they got the branches all down, so you can see there's the roof. It's dripping a little bit in here, and so he had it set up as good as he could for what he had. Okay, gonna come back out, and he had the branches set up for.
Once the clouds would blow over, you'd get a little bit of sun like this.
Yeah.
But for the most part, just when you think it was calm, you could just hear that wind roaring. And there were several times that I jumped out of the cave because I thought it was a snowmobile. And I had to finally realize that the wind was just changing its volume and tone. It sounded like snowmobiles. And there was one time I was up there by the burnout, and I was stuck getting turned around, and there was a headlight and there was a snowmobile riding right at me, and I said, right on, you know, somebody's here. So I went down, kept riding down, and nobody was there. I was going, what the heck? I just swear to God, I just saw somebody right here. Then I knew, hey, I need to get back. I don't want to be out there alone. I literally started just thinking somebody was there. It was really eerie.
That's signs of hypothermia.
Yeah. I could swear the headlight was right there, and I go, oh wow, they came over, you know, that ridge, and there was nobody there. And I go, well, there's got to be tracks. There was no tracks. Looking for something that didn't even exist. It was really odd. And then when I laid in here, Renee laid against the inner wall, and I laid on the outside, so she was more insulated. And I just laid there looking out. Well, I had some branches in front of this too. I used some of those, and there's some other ones around here. But I would lay there and I'd see the moon, I'd see snow and wind. I just lay there looking out, and I'd have my shovel. My shovel was right here, and I could see it hour after hour, the shovel getting covered up like it was a measuring stick. And then I would turn my back to the outside and get close against her face to face, and I could swear I hear footsteps. Just somebody like walking in the snow, like this crunching snow. And I would just turn my back real quick and look. It was just eerie, and I thought, well, it might have been an elk or a deer or something.
Sasquatch.
You know, nothing. And then I was laying there with my back towards the outside, and I could swear something like a squirrel or something crawled down my back, and I flipped over real quick, and Renee's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know, I just felt something on my back, so I came out here to get some air, and just kind of, it really starts tricking your mind. It's, well, I really was never worried until about between 5 and 7 o'clock Monday night. I really thought there's no way they're coming in. I pretty much threw in the towel then and said, we got to stay in the night. That's when I rode out to the ridge at about 7 o'clock when I got a hold of you, and Bill said, we're coming in no matter what. We're on snowshoes. My daughter said they're coming in. We're on snowshoes. So I came back here, and I just told Renee, I said, they are still working their way in here. I says, how they get here, I don't know, but they are. They're not giving up. And then I dozed off. It was probably, 8, 9 o'clock, dozed off, and then I woke up. Maybe it was half hour later. It was hard to keep track of time. And I had my radio right by my head, and just waited for somebody to call. And we sat there. I laid back down, and it was about 11:30. Somebody keyed up on the radio, called my name. It was crystal clear. I grabbed it immediately. I hit OK to save. I didn't even respond to them because they had a rhino, and it was Kurt's rhino. I hit it immediately to save that spot, and then I immediately looked at the map. I didn't even respond to them. I looked at the map because I wanted to know where they were at, and they were right down there. And then I responded. I said, yeah, this is Glenn. I see you coming in from the east side. Just keep walking up the trail. We're about half a mile from you. And so they just started walking, and I came up out of here. And
So did you have the sleds here?
yeah. Sleds were here. So I was able to ride back and forth.
Right.
The one sled in 2011, because I was riding my 12 back and forth, so I knew I used more gas on that. So the 11, I put here, sloped it down, wedged the ski up a little bit on that side, so it was always sloping this way, so I could take the gas cap off and then just tip it over enough to put gas in it, and I'd put it on the fire. So I used the gas out of the 11 sled and used my gas to ride back and forth just to keep it about even. Because I knew if we were able to ride out of here.
Did you fill up in Easton when you went in? You did fill, so you were full when you left.
Yeah, I was full, so I knew I had
good choice there.
Oh yeah.
The only time you have too much gas is when you're on fire.
Yeah. But you know, contrary to some of the stories, we were not stuck like over a ravine or, you know, in a drift or anything like that. We were operable from, you know,
on
one
the
point to
news
another
on
point.
Monday night, they reported that one of the search and rescue people had fallen off a
Yeah.
cliff and was injured.
Yeah.
So what was that all about?
They up there on the ridge,
true.
one of them
I
fell
don't
down
know
off
if
of
they
the
were
drift.
injured or not.
They weren't injured.
They-
I talked to
Oh,
them.
170 feet.
Snowshoers up there with me that had gone ahead, and my understanding was it was a blizzard condition, same thing. So they were walking along and they didn't see the snowdrift, and they just one step and went down. And we're not sure. I didn't get exactly how far, but it was far enough that they didn't like totally injured. They were able to walk out.
Yeah, I talked to some of the guys that were up there, and they basically fell off a cornice about 5 or 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal.
guys-
And hold it
Yeah,
somewhere
just two.
so
They must have
it'll
been
light up
animals,
your.
huh?
No,
otherwise
you
won't
know,
be able to
these
see.
guys were tall, slender. They were very calm, relaxing. Those guys didn't get
Carl
out of
and
breath
Josh, huh?
walking. I could
Josh.
swear they'd walk 100 miles in the snow. Just no signs of any kind of fatigue,
That's what I said.
soreness.
They were in shape.
They were definitely in shape.
And snowshoes, I'm telling you, I'm getting a friggin' set.
Well, yeah. Now,
Because I walked a lot without, and then they gave me some snowshoes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now what they did was, Renee was in the cave when they got here, and I was out here. I was coherent, everything's fine. They put a blanket on her in there. Why Josh and I, Carl and Renee stayed here. Josh and I, because they couldn't get radio communication here. Josh and I rode our snowmobiles out to where we were on that ridge. And that's where they were making communication that they confirmed they made contact with us. And then Josh and I came back in here, and we got everything, you know, in our backpacks. Then they took Josh's snowshoes, put them on Renee's feet. And Renee and Carl walked all the way out there to that ridge, and Josh and I rode the snowmobiles out to the ridge.
Close to each other.
But it
Yeah,
would be
I wanted to make it so I could, you know, stretch out, but we had our backpacks for like our pillows, we had our helmets in there, all my goggles, everything we kept in there that we could. My GPS out of my sled out here, because it was wired in, never came off of it, just sat there and just recorded all the trails. And
So from here, you should have had rhino coverage like the pyramid, couldn't you?
no, you would think so, but there just wasn't getting any kind of coverage. I think it was too dense a forest, or
Even the Forest Service radios had a little trouble, I think.
yeah, because that's why they couldn't even talk on the Forest Service radios from here.
Yeah. So they had the 4x4 rescue was setting up their Jeeps and stuff, and they were relays for us for
Yeah,
information.
'cause they were running a relay, and they couldn't even get to the relay station until we got on that point. So my cell phone wouldn't work here. I'd just go up there, go there.
So how'd you keep your battery going for that long?
I had a charger on my sled, so I would charge
There's
it
the
at
advantage of
nighttime.
electric
While I
start.
was sitting here.
With the sled
with-
running?
No,
Yeah,
just
off
plugged in the battery. Yeah.
That's good enough.
And then when I went to ride the sled, I'd unplug the cord, go up there, and then make the call.
Laser, could you get comfortable in there?
So now there's one other thing that I just did a while back. It's about, 3 inches wide, about 4 inches tall, and about 3/4 of an inch thick battery pack that will take and recharge your cell phone 3 times.
Oh,
Yeah.
I heard about that.
And they're only $80.
My wife wants me to get one because they have them for like the iPhones and the phones.
Yep.
And, yep. She's told me
It's
the same
got
thing.
4
Yeah, there's a
different
there's a bunch of
attachments
different
to
ones out
do
there.
different
Yeah.
things.
And I always
Very
bring
handy.
my cords. My cords are in there now.
Yep.
Because and I got this Droid Razor Max. It's got some good battery life, but still, the cold temperatures, 2-3
Not gonna
days.
go 2 days or
It
3
doesn't.
days out there.
Without it, literally, I don't care the GPS coordinates, how accurate or inaccurate they were. I wouldn't be able to relay that information.
You guys know the hand crank, like the lights?
Yeah.
There's a guy on YouTube you can go look up. He took a phone charger, and he went in and he hacked into the compartment, and he wired in a phone charger. So it's a hand crank phone charger that you can make for like $30.
That's a good idea.
That's a good one too.
One of the things we could have used for a vapor barrier and for some comfort, especially on the Skidoos, those seats just pop off of there, the little clip of your finger. And what I should have done was put both seats, end to end for Renee to lay on, because I could have still rode my sled without a seat, and she could have been laying on a nice cushion in there. Would have helped a lot. We didn't do that, so that's one thing,
And you didn't have any of those silver space blanket type?
Did not have any Silver Space blankets. I had a snow bungee survival kit that said it had a blanket in there, which was a garbage bag. That's what it was a garbage bag.
So, because of what happened here, I went home the other night and dumped all my crap out. You got to look at those snow blankets. Those, they lose their silver. I had 2 of them that were just like gone.
So definitely would want
dust.
2 of those, one to lay on and one to cover up with. For
I
sure.
now have 4 of them.
Yeah. As far as
this was about 2 hours to make, huh?
as far as laying on them, you want something a little bit more of a barrier because those blankets cold radiate through them fairly well.
Yes.
So
well,
like,
he did the right thing with the branches and everything.
yes, that was awesome.
Could have got more. We added some the next morning. Remember the first night, you know, that's when the storm came in, that first night, and we, I had to do what I could to create some kind of shelter. It may have not been perfect, but I wasn't gonna manicure it.
Did you start building, or was you still in daylight?
No, it was dark. It was about midnight. You know, when I started building it. So I got done. I remember looking at my my phone or my radio, and it seemed like it was 2:30 in the morning before I went to bed. Yeah. When it's midnight and you have somebody freezing, you know, you do what you think is gonna give you the best chance to survive temporarily, and then we would modify. When daylight came around, that's when I built the walls out, and then what I did is I put a whole bunch of branches in front of that when she was in there to keep it warm.
Protect you.
The other thing is the snow that we were getting was that BB type snow. It was powder, you know, that layer that you don't want to create an avalanche. It was just, this was powder. Right now it's all heavy, wet, but it was just powder. You could just kick it, and
just blow it.
when I would go up and down that trail, the time I get to the top to grab the branches, my footprints were already covered up coming back down. It really just kept snowing a lot. It let up on Monday, later Monday. Mainly the blizzard was out there. Because we woke up in the morning, our sleds, had like 18 inches of snow on them from Sunday night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
yeah,
bunch.
these trails going in and out. And I'm not kidding. I would go out to make a phone call. There was no remnants of tracks coming back in, because especially up around that corner where it gets all blown, just would fill in that fast. So I would just keep riding back and forth to make sure if somebody got to either end, they would see tracks, but they would just fill in. So I don't know how many miles I did on my snowmobile just going back and forth on this road just to keep it.
Did you ever get the fire kind of
rolling? The fire was going pretty good, but you know, when I would go down and start communicating, be down there for a half hour or so, then it went out because Renee was in there laying down. But we got enough to dry some stuff out, but it was tough to keep going. There's the dead tree that I was using right there. It was really brittle. It looks real wet now, but it was, it had a bunch of branches hanging over it from that other tree, and you could just break it off with your hand. And I burnt a pair of socks on there, you know, the edges of the socks. It got pretty good, but it just, right when you think it's getting warm and dry, you hear it crackling and everything, suddenly it just starts going out, and then if the wind, you know, would come down in here and blow too hard, then it'll blow it out.
Right, the cave there.
We need to bury, I wasn't so worried about that, but we should probably collapse that in and bury this.
One more time into the...
Oh, and by the way, I have one of these shovels, and then I have one of the other, you know, SOS shovels or whatever. And, you know, by far, these are the way to go.
What kind is that one?
That one,
This is
that
an
one there
Autobox.
with the 90-degree shovel, you mean?
Yes, 90-degree shovel, because you can move so much snow.
Yeah, that one there will do 90 degrees also.
But when I was cutting the cave out, I had the other shovel flat so I could reach in there. I'd reach in there, scoop it out, I'd scrape the top. And I wanted it big enough so we could lay down. Oh, and then cramps. Oh, her legs started cramping up first when she's in it screaming, and then mine did. I didn't want to move because I knew I was going to get all cramped up.
We're going in the cave, and
I think they're about $80.
this is the cave. There's the branches. It goes back to quite a ways. And then the ceiling. Oops. That's it.
Tom, run for your life. What? You're going to fill it in. Run for your life. Stepping on them. We need the broken leg.
Anybody want to look at it? We got plenty of guys.
I'm gonna start filling it in.
Okay.
Many people who can sleep in one of those to stand on the top.
Let's pull that out.
You had nothing better to do than dig. Yeah, what? Had nothing better to do than to dig. That's true.
You got a shovel handy?
It's such difference.
You're done good, Glenn. Yep.
Very good.
Great. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, you can see how far back it goes.
So she got a hold of 911. They said, stand by, we'll get a hold of you. And she let me know that right away. And I said, no, so I called 911.
Worry about over there. No one's gonna ride over that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because Christina told me, she said, God, I left a message with Bill.
A couple days.
I wasn't sure if he got it. 20 minutes later, he calls him back and he says he's already geared up. He's on his way to go. She goes, he must not have been at work. I said, no, he's probably at work. He just moves real quick.
I just left. My boss was pissed.
Was he?
He basically told me, he goes, well, I'm pretty sure search and rescue can handle that. There'd be no need, for you to go. I said, you know what? This is my friend, and it's a snowmobiler, and I'm gone. The job can wait. And when I got back, he was a little pissed off, but oh well.
Yeah.
So this is more important.
Thank you. I owe you my life.
No.
This is more.
That's one of the things about us snowmobilers. We're always there for each other and stuff. It doesn't matter who you are, what club. If you're a snowmobiler, we're there.
Everybody's bashing the rescuers. And, I said, look, these guys are volunteers. They did a fabulous job. It was a coordinated effort. I have the utmost respect and I'm grateful for their effort. Not only them, but Bill, Kurt, Dan for his assistance with it. Everybody that helped. I said I'm not going to criticize anybody. I said, but if any of my buddies were in that same situation, I would have been out here all night also getting them. So it's just, I think, a community thing. And
like I said, I went straight home, dumped my pack out, and I found that my toe warmers and my hand warmers are all shot, because I've had them in there so long. I ended up, a couple of those space blankets were bad. So the kit, I dumped that out to see what was in the kit. And I redid the kit in a plastic bottle one that I have. And then I had a metal bottle one figuring, okay, I'll put a bunch of stuff in there. And what I put in there was bouillon cubes, oatmeal, stuff like that I could actually put snow in that thing, heat it up, melt it, and make that up and get some good substance
Definitely
in it.
having a metal tin and maybe a packet of hot chocolate, something that just gives you some emotional support. It's kind of just a good feeling thing.
Yeah.
Be able to boil hot water is just really critical to get your core temperature up. Because once your core drops, you don't got blood flow to your extremities anymore, and that's when you got frostbite. And we got back, and what was my temperature? 94 degrees?
94, you guys were down, both of you were 94.
And she was 95, so, it was, and that was after our bodies moving. Our core temperature here was probably much colder than that. Laying on that, I shivered all night. She could feel me shaking. I shivered, she didn't, and I would just get up and move my body, but, I just literally sat there shivering like a brick. The one thing I thought of was Tom's blue bedroll mat thing. I told Renee, I says, man, I wish I had Tom's bedroll that I laughed that he carries that thing around right now. I wish I had that.
And the other thing you need to have, I have an MSR stove, but the canister propane stoves work really well.
I want to look at those.
But the advantage of the MSR stove, it'll burn anything, so you always have gasoline in it. But they're bigger and they're awkward.
So you know what I carry is that little canister of those gel.
It's like Sterno.
Sterno. Yeah. I carry a couple of those and stuff on me because I've always heard even a candle will keep you warm in the right kind of. So I keep a couple of those, and those will burn for hours and hours. So.
Yeah, good idea.
Inside of that cave, one candle is the equivalent of a 60-watt light bulb.
Yeah.
You get all the reflection off of there. But you don't want to build a fire in there because when I did that one time, it carbons up and it's like the black hole of Calcutta. You can't see your hand this far.
Well, no, that I didn't want dripping on me from melting. You have cold water dripping on you. I figured if we had the fire down in here, we could just kind of sit by it and then go back in there. I knew it wasn't going to pull heat necessarily in there.
You shape the roof so that it runs off, it doesn't drip down. You have anything hanging down, it's going to drip down.
Yeah. Well, when you
Usually
start
you're supposed
carving
to
the
put
ice,
a vent in it too. For the
yeah,
fire.
you got to put a vent in there too.
Well, you only have to have a vent in there if you're going to cook in there. If you're not going to cook in there, then you don't need a
The other thing we had is I always have 3 of these with me, these balaclavas, and I decided to go over my nose, and I slept like this, but I almost got worried if my own carbon dioxide was going to kill me. So I would pull this down once in a while, because you're just breathing and you're just really not exhausting any of your air. But these kept our ears, head warm. I never took these off my head. Yeah.
There you go.
Now remember, I had cell phone service at one of these ends. Only way I could get the GPS. If I didn't, there's no way I could relay that message. And that's where having a spot would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Because you just push the button, you're in a satellite transmission.
Just make sure it's facing up.
I mean, I take it everywhere. Even in the summer when the kids come up jeeping and stuff, I make them take it. See how it is, because if you ever break down, anything happens.
Yeah.
And we did use it one time this winter. They were the first ones to drive a Jeep over Pyramid and get to Whistling Jacks.
Really?
They didn't get to Whistling Jacks till like 3 in the morning, and they got stuck and they had to winch. This was like in April or May.
Really?
Yeah, and I got real worried because they had no cell phone service. And finally, like at 2:30, I got a spot message. I jump out of bed, I go turn my computer on, and it shows me right where they're at. They're about halfway down the switchbacks on this side of Pyramid. And I go, okay, they're moving, they're all right.
And I've been kind of cheap about it. I'm like, I don't want to pay the annual fee and everything, but no, I'm going to.
It's cheap insurance.
Yeah. Well, the news media, King 5, I said something about search and rescue. I don't know if we said something about the bill or whatever. They said our coverage supports that. I think the media actually donates money to search and rescue, and they're on a thing where that's why they're called immediately for the story and everything, because they said that, well, this is how we because I said, I didn't expect the media to be out here. They said, well, it's good because this is how we support search and rescue financially too. Really? So there's some money going from there.